Okay, so let's can you hear me?
Yes
Yes
po,
po,
sir.
sir.
Yes po.
Okay, so we're going to study the 5 different classes of proteobacteria. Okay, first class is alpha proteobacteria. So the key characteristic of these alpha proteobacteria is that they can live in low nutrient environment. So from the word oligo, which means few, so they use up only low use up nutrients even if it's scarce in that environment. So you have uh, alpha proteobacteria that are found in deep undersurface soil, even in glacial ice. Okay, so you have also some bacteria in this group that are pathogens. So they are called obligate intracellular pathogens, where they spend part of their life cycle inside other cells called host cells. So they're like parasites that they use up the ATP of the host cell. Eventually, the host cell will die. So like bacteria, they only can be metabolically active inside the host cell. Outside the host cell, they're not active, and they cannot synthesize their own ATP. So an example is rickettsia. So this is the bacteria that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It can also cause typhus. Okay, so remember the diseases that are associated with rickettsia. So again, you have typhus, typhi, and you have epidemic typhus. That's R. prowazeki. And then Rocky Mountain spotted fever is called R. rickettsii. In terms of staining, it's difficult to stain the rickettsia bacteria, so you need special staining techniques to see them under a microscope. Another another member of this group, you have chlamydia. So chlamydia is one of the STDs, and they are very resistant to cellular defense. So this is why they're able to spread from host to host. So here in chlamydia, you have an inactive form called the elementary bodies. So like they're endospores. Okay. So endospore-like, they are not exactly endospores, but because of their behavior, they act like endospores. So let's look at how they, uh, let's look at the life cycle of chlamydia. Okay, let's increase the size of this. Okay, so let's start with this. You have an epithelial cell. Your elementary body of the chlamydia penetrates into the epithelial cell. Okay, so eventually they start to. So outside the cell, these elementary bodies do not do anything metabolically, but once they are inside the cell, the elementary body can turn into reticulate cells. So reticulate body. So what happens is they will multiply and they will form networks. Okay, that's the word reticulate comes from. So they form networks inside the host cell. So eventually they will be grouped in a inclusion. Eventually, these reticulate bodies will form elementary bodies. So within 3 days, the host cell dies and it releases the elementary bodies. So they use up the ATP of the cell. Okay, so let's look at some of the alpha proteobacteria here. So agrobacterium. So we're not really concerned with that because that is a plant pathogen. We only want to concentrate on those that can cause disease. So we have Bartonella. So this is gram negative. You have a flagellated Coccobacillus. So you have in this bacteria, it's transmitted by fleas. So it can cause trench fever and cat scratch disease in humans. Brucella is gram negative. It is a small flagellated Coccobacillus. So it is a facultative intracellular bacteria transmitted by contaminated milk from infected cows. Okay? So this can cause brucellosis in cats, cattle, and humans as well. Increase ko na nga yung size. Okay. You have also Coxiella. So these are small gram negative bacillus. Any questions? Do you have any questions? Try ko palakihin ang font ha. Ano bang size nito? Okay, so okay, let's go back. So Coxiella causes kill fever, and this may be a potential use for a biological weapon. You have Ehrlichia. So you have this is a gram negative coccoid or ovoid bacteria. So it's an obligatory intracellular bacteria. Again, what does that mean? It can enter into a host cell. Okay, so like a virus, no? It's not a virus. It enters into the cell and uses up the uh functions of the cell to produce ATP, for example, to use up the ATP. Okay, so it can be transported from cell to cell, and this can be transmitted by ticks. So this is the bacteria that causes ehrlichiosis. So this disease destroys white blood cells and causes inflammation. So humans and dogs. You have also microbiome. So this is a gram-negative bacillus. It grows from a stalk. It's similar to Caulobacter. An important bacteria. So I think we should remember this. This is important in terms of the food that we eat. Why they are able to grow. It is because of these bacteria that helps fertilize the soil. Even without a fertilizer, as long as the bacteria lives in it, the nitrogen will combine uh, with other elements, and this can be used by any plant that will grow on it. Okay, so methylocystis is an important nitrogen fixing bacteria. So it's gram negative. Uh, it's a coccoid or short bacilli. So you don't have to remember if whether it's gram positive or gram negative. Just take note of the disease, because as nurses, you have to be familiar with it. And then yung nitrogen fixing bacteria, importante yan as a consumer. Okay? So as you remember this, yung mga important lang, no? Kasi hirap naman i-remember kung gram negative lahat yan. Actually, gram negative naman lahat yan kasi nga nandun siya sa under the that class. Pero ang importante yung mga diseases that cause it. Okay? Okay, so let's look at rickettsia. Rickettsia is an obligate intracellular bacteria transmitted by ticks, and this may cause Rocky Mountain spotted fever and typhus, like I mentioned. Another type is rhizobium, na a nitrogen fixing bacteria. So that this lives in soil and form a symbiotic relationship with roots of legumes. So yung mga sa peanuts, you have this uh, rhizobium in your roots. Okay, another class, you have beta proteobacteria. So these are eutropes, or they need a lot of organic nutrients. So you need a lot of oxygen. Although they can live in environments that have less. So beta proteobacteria can grow between aerobic and anaerobic areas. And some of these organisms include species that are human pathogens. So one of these beta proteobacteria, you have N. gonorrhea. So this is the causative agent of the sexually transmitted disease, gonorrhea. You have also N. meningitide, meningitis. So this is the causative agent of meningitis. So Neisseria are cocci. So they live in the mucosal surfaces of the human body. So they require low levels of oxygen. So that means micro aerophilic. They're also difficult to culture, so that means it's fastidious. They require lots of water, so you need high levels of moisture. That's why they're eutrophs. They need a lot of nutrient supplements and carbon dioxide as well. Okay, so these are examples of meningitis in colonies. So specific siya sa chocolate agar plate. So special type of nutrient agar. So ito yung mga nasa class beta proteobacteria. So you have a small gram-negative Coccobacillus. The Bordetella is aerobic, very fastidious, and this one causes whooping cough. Okay? So yan, Bordetella, this causes whooping cough. Burkholderia. So this is aerobic, aquatic, and this can cause disease in horses and humans. So these are agents of nosocomial infections. Leptothrix, this is a gram-negative sheeted filamentous bacillus. So in water, it oxidizes iron and manganese. So this can be used in wastewater treatment for plants and clogged pipes, treatment plants and clogged pipes. Okay, so very useful siya for the environment because it oxidizes these metals. Neisseria, so this is gram-negative coffee bean shaped coccus, and they form pairs. So that's Diplococcus. So it requires moisture and high concentration of carbon dioxide. So it can produce oxidase. So that's why it's oxidase positive. This can grow on chocolate agar. So some pathogenic species can cause gonorrhea and meningitis. Another bacteria, thiobacillus. So from the word thio, that means may sulfur siya, no? So this is able to live in hot environments, so it's thermophilic. It can live in very acidic environments, so that's acidophilic. So it's a strictly aerial bacteria. It can oxidize iron and sulfur. So remember the word thio, that is associated with sulfur. Gamma proteobacteria. So this is the most diverse class of gram-negative bacteria and includes a number of human pathogens. So let's look. So you have the family Pseudomonaceae. So under this, you have the genus Pseudomonas. Okay, you have the species Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So this is aerobic, non-fermenting, and very mobile bacteria. So they can form biofilms. It is one of the causes of UTIs, and it is resistant to many antibiotics. Okay, so it may infect wounds or burns. Another species, P. fluorescens. So these are fluorescent growing bacteria that can be found in soil. Okay, so another family, you have Pasturelaceae. So this includes several clinically relevant genera and species that are human or animal pathogens. So among this, you have in the genus Haemophilus, you have Haemophilus influenzae. So this is not related to influenza, by the way. Okay, so do not confuse influenza with H. influenzae. So this can cause upper and lower respiratory tract infection. So sometimes the upper and lower respiratory tract infections are caused by bacteria as well, although most are caused by viruses. So again, do not interchange yung influenza at influenzae. So H. influenzae is a species. Influenza is the disease caused by a virus. You have also H. ducreyi. So this can cause chancroid. So this is an STI that causes genital ulcers. Okay, so ito yung mga famous na epidemics. Hindi nila alam na this can cause this bacteria is actually from the water, from contaminated water, no? So one of the uh under the order Vibrionales, you have V. cholerae. So this is a comma-shaped aquatic bacterium that is responsible for cholera. So this leads to watery diarrhea and dehydration. Another uh, another pathogen, you have V. parahemolyticus. So this is another cause of gastrointestinal disease in humans. So you have also Alivibrio fischeri. So this one is in a symbiotic relationship with squid. Under the genus Legionella, you have one of the diseases in the 1970s called the Legionnaire's disease. So it is the bacteria that causes that is pneumophila. So this lives in the water and yung mga air conditioning units, no? So kaya importante yung malinis yung air conditioning units mo. Kasi if it lives in warm water, then it is breeding ground for that bacteria. So yun, this is associated with the Legionnaire's disease. So it's like pneumonia. It attacks the lungs. So kaya siya tinawag na Legionnaire's disease, no? It was because it occurred in a hotel hosting Legion Veterans Association convention. So kaya siya tinawag na Legionnaire's disease. So yan, yung ganun yan, pwedeng breeding grounds yung mga warm water sa air conditioning units. So importante you clean your air conditioning units. Baka maging breeding grounds ng bacteria yan. Another under gamma proteobacteria, you have enterobacteriales. So this is a large family of enteric bacteria, or those that are found in the intestines. So they are able to convert carbohydrates into other forms. So they undergo fermentation. They are facultative anaerobes, so meaning without the use of oxygen. They have basically two categories. You have the coliform and the non-coliform uh, family. So under coliform, so alam natin yung pag yung kung madumi yung tubig, no, maraming coliforms na sabi na coliform bacteria. This can ferment lactose. So with the production of acid and gas. So example nito ay E. coli. So you have also non-coliform. So either they cannot ferment lactose or can only ferment it incompletely with some acid or gas production, but not both. So among them you have salmonella. So ito medyo sikat tong E. coli, no? Medyo sikat tong E. coli. Not all of them are pathogens, no? They are actually a part of our normal flora. They are part of our gut bacteria in the digestive system. Pero may mga strains na nagpo-produce ng mga deadly toxin called the Shiga toxin. So this stops protein synthesis and can lead to cellular death and hemorrhagic colitis. Sorry. Okay, salmonella, you have various serotypes, meaning yung sa serum mo, iba-iba yung mag-appear na serological varieties. So these are strains or variation of the same species of bacteria. So you have over 2,000 serovars. So these are serotypes. So alam natin it can cause food poisoning. So you have foodborne illness. You can have fever, vomiting, and diarrhea. So Salmonella typhi is the causative agent of typhoid fever. Okay? So ando na, iba yung typhus sa typhoid fever. Magkaiba sila. Sige, palakihin natin to para makita ng lahat. Kaiba yung F5. Okay, so let's look at some of the genus here. So Beggiatoa. So this is aquatic, lives in water with high content of hydrogen disulfide. So this can cause problems for sewage treatment. Um, and then you have Enterobacter. So this is an important bacteria you have to remember. So it can cause urinary and respiratory tract infection in hospitalized patients. So it's also implicated in the pathogenesis of obesity. So you have also Erwinia. So it's a plant pathogen, so that we don't have to concentrate on that. Ito, Escherichia. So this is an important bacteria. We have this in our gut, pero may mga strains nga that can cause disease. So it's a facultative anaerobe. It inhabits our digestive system. It can produce vitamin K. Pero yun nga, may mga strain na deadly. Like this strain 0157H7. So this is a pathogen. So it's a model organism for many studies in genetics and molecular biology. Okay, Haemophilus. So this is a gram-negative bacillus. So it's pleomorphic. So it may appear as a Coccobacillus. So it's an aerobe. It's a facultative anaerobe. It can grow on blood agar. So may iba-ibang mga agar, no? Nutrient agar. So meron ka mga chocolate agar. So depende yan, mapag-aaral niyo sa lab kung ano mga species ang mag-grow sa specific na agar. So you have So you have pathogenic species that can cause respiratory infection, chancroid, and other diseases. Another type, you have Klebsiella, no? Naging famous to kasi, di ba to, para tong naging pangalan ng isang contestant sa beauty contest. Sa ano, I think, tama ba ako? Di ba familiar tong name? Pinangalan, siguro yung parents niya, microbiologist, pinangalan siyang Klebsiella. So para siyang ano no. Pero actually it is it is it has pathogenic species that can cause pneumonia, lalo na yung mga nag-iinom. Okay, so yung alcoholic diyan, tapos ano, so mahina yung immune system. So yung Klebsiella, yan yung nagko-cause ng pneumonia among those uh, alcoholic people. Legionella. So this is a fastidious bacteria. It can cause Legionnaire's disease. So it can depende sa ano no, so sa nutrient, it can grow on uh, charcoal buffered yeast extract. So importante yung Legionella. Methylomonas. So this is use methane as a source of carbon and energy. So ginagamit niya yung methane as energy source. Proteus, inhabitants of the human gastrointestinal tract. It's motile. So it produces urease. It is also one of the opportunistic pathogens and can cause urinary tract infection. You have also Pseudomonas, so it's aerobic. It produces yellow and blue pigments. So if you culture it, it will appear green. It is also opportunistic. You have antibiotic resistant pathogens, and it may cause wound infection. So sa hospitals, delikado yan. So secondary infections in patients with cystic fibrosis. Serratia, so this is motile. It may produce red pigment. So it is an opportunistic pathogen responsible for a large number of hospital-acquired infection. Shigella, so this is also a dangerous pathogen. So it produces a Shiga toxin, which can destroy cells of the gastrointestinal tract. Vibrio inhabits seawater, flagellated, and may produce toxins. And also you have Viricinia. It's carried by rodents. So this is the one that caused bubonic plague. Okay. So let's rejoin na lang sa next